Playing through knee pain is not normal and it's not fun, but it has become common among pickleball players. Pickleball players are used to playing through what? Pickleball elbow, right? Nagging pain there. They're used to playing through nagging pain at their knee and nagging pain at their back, because we're all addicts and we love to play the game and we play it a lot, and we can go out there and play it for hours on hours on hours. So I want to help you change that. I want to help you stop the buck with you. I want to help you get out of pain, fix your knee, because I believe that you can fix your knee yourself without going to a doctor, without going to see a physical therapist.
Hold up, wait a minute.
I believe that with some consistent training, you can fix it. Consistent knee pain is a lot like riding a horse. If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. If you can name where I quoted that from, I will give you a free week of my Pickleball Foundations program, 7 days, 5 workouts a week. If not, stay till the end and I'll let you know where that quote comes from. So the problem is that an astronomically high amount of players are experiencing knee pain. If you haven't watched my recent YouTube video on pickleball injuries, check that out. You can either be another statistic, right? Another person that they're diagnosing, another person that has to go pay for a ton of PT, or you can start taking control of your body, taking control of your pain, taking control of your fitness by doing some more exercises and being a little bit consistent. When you hear of knee pain, most people think of tendonitis, right? Like, I got jumper's knees. There's actually a difference between tendinopathy, what I want to talk about, and tendonitis, okay? So tendonitis more so is the inflammation of the joint or inflammation of the tendon, right? So if you have patellar tendonitis, the tendon is predominantly inflamed, whereas tendinopathy is the actual damage of the tendon, right? You're actually causing micro tears within the tendon. They both happen from chronic workloads, right? Repetitive jumps, repetitive sprints, repetitive pounding on a hard surface like in pickleball, or same with pickleball elbow, repetitive, maybe you did a day full of flicks, right? And you got inflamed. If I let either of these drag on, it's only gonna increase my amount of time to recover and to rehab either of those. The long duration of like dedicated, consistent training can take up to 9 months. That's a really long time, when a lot of people think it's just a couple of weeks or, I should stop training or cease training altogether. Stuff doesn't work. You need diligent, consistent training, and you gotta stay on top of it. So where do we start? How do we start? What do we do? If I got patellar tendonitis or tendinopathy, where do I start? With either of them, you need to protect it, right? Protect the joint, protect the tissue. So first and foremost, if you're in pain, let's limit the load and the work capacity and the amount of load that's going through the joint. So whatever that looks like, whether you need to cease a little bit of training, right? Maybe do a little bit of conditioning instead of your normal lifts. If you're lifting 3 days a week, go down to once or twice. Limit the load going through the joint. Let it rest, let it heal, and let pain guide you to coming back, right? If you're in pain, if you're in discomfort, you shouldn't be training at that point. On a scale of 1 to 10, you may be able to push through an amount of pain of like 2-ish, maybe 3. But if you're pushing that 3 or 4 range, you should probably cease training. Tip number 2, you should avoid anti-inflammatory medications, right? So Advil, ibuprofen, things of that nature. Inflammation is the first step to the process of healing, right? So the blood going to the joint, the blood going to the tissue is the first phase of healing. And it's an important phase, right? You want the blood there. So I would avoid that, because a lot of these anti-inflammatories, they might pull the blood out and it might not be inflamed anymore, but it can hinder the healing process down the road where it doesn't actually heal all the way. Quick tip number 3 is gonna be avoid icing, right? If you got patellar tendonitis or patellar tendinopathy, there's no real evidence that supports icing. I would say if you're going to ice, maybe do a little bit of research, see what you find, and I don't think you'll really find much behind it. The only thing that I get is like, you see LeBron James ices his knees after every game, like he's the GOAT. So maybe you can ice, but I don't think it's really gonna do you any good. All right, our next tip is gonna be vascularization. So what does that mean? Doing some cardio, getting some blood flow to the joint, to the muscle, to the tissue. It's gonna kind of jumpstart the whole healing process. So pain-free is the most important thing, right? If you have knee pain and patellar tendinopathy, I don't expect you to go out and run, right? I expect you maybe to hit some light bike intervals or hit some light bike cardio or an elliptical or maybe some incline walking, something that's pain-free that gets good blood flow to the joint. Before we get into our full compound movements, we're gonna do more of like a rehab style training, right? So 3 ways in which we're gonna load the joint to start. Single joint movements, isometrics, and we're gonna load some high needs areas. That's our 3 kind of standards of procedure when we're first starting out. So single joint movements means I'm not gonna go in, I'm not gonna start back squatting right away. I'm gonna load the joint specifically that is painful, right? The specific joint that is injured. right? So if I have patellar tendinopathy, I'm gonna do things like isometric split squats or normal split squats or lunges or things of that nature. So I'm gonna load that joint and the muscles around the joint specifically first before I do compound movements. Next is gonna be isometrics. So there's a lot of research behind doing isometrics for tendon growth, tendon repair. Doing isometrics isolates the tendons a little bit more. A lot of research behind that, so we'll do a lot of that. And then we'll do high needs areas. So what does that mean? I'm gonna do exercises that are specific to you / to your sport. So if you have needs of maybe you don't have a good pelvic position, maybe you have a weak core, things of that nature, we're gonna do things so that it's specific to you in your training, right? I don't wanna just throw a bunch of random exercises at you. I wanna do things that are specific to you and your body so that this doesn't happen again. As well as I wanna do things that are specific to your sport. So for the sake of this video, typically what I see a lot is the needs of a lot of hamstring work, right? Many of us are quad dominant, and within pickleball, hamstrings are probably the most dominant muscle used because we're bent over in this hinging position a lot. So we're gonna do a lot of hamstring work that'll isolate around the knee. We'll do a lot of glute maximus and glute med work, as well as a little bit of VMO work. So to recap, when we're starting to load the joint, we're gonna go to 3 areas: single joint movements around the affected tissue, isometrics, as well as high need areas, hamstrings, glute meds, as well as your core. Also, if you stay until the very end, I video myself going through a full day prescription of exercises to help heal your knee. Okay, so it's 3 different blocks, 3 different tiers, 6 total exercises. I'm going through, I give you the reps, I give you the sets, I give you everything, and I video how to do it. So stay till the end to check that out. Lastly, after we load joint specific movements, we're gonna start to train more all-encompassing, right? We can get back to our regular scheduled programming. Once you can do the program that I show you at the end, pain-free, and you can put load through those movements, then you're ready to really start training back to normal, right? You're ready to start putting load and doing compound movements, ready to start doing squats and deadlifts and things of that nature, right? Like, I'm not saying you should have ceased that altogether, right? Those things could have still been dabbled in, but for the sake of this video, it's better to go in the steps that I laid out, right? Like, that's why having a coach and knowing your situation and how you feel is more beneficial, because we can kind of fluctuate and overlap some things along the way. So if you got the quote in the very beginning, I hope you commented it. If not, it was Ted Lasso. So comment Ted Lasso below and I'll send you a free week of my Pickleball Foundations program. First, we'll start on the bike or some kind of cardio equipment that will get you into a pain-free motion. So whether that's a brisk walk, an incline walk, on the elliptical, rower, I choose the bike because it's pretty much the least amount of weight on the knee, least amount of load-bearing exercise that you can do. The goal is to do it pain-free. So if you have to go this slow to be pain-free, that's okay. But if you can ramp it up a little bit, that's good too, right? Pain-free, you just want to get some blood flowing. You want to get some blood circulating to the joint. Your goal here is 2 to 5 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes at a pretty easy rate. Get the heart rate up, get some blood flow to the joint. Next is gonna be an iso bear hold. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in an all fours position. I'm gonna lift my knees up 1 inch off the ground, and I'm gonna hold that position. What I'm doing here is getting slight load through my knee once I'm up, but I'm also just kind of engaging my core, getting my pelvis and everything in a good position. Typically, we'll hold this for about 20 seconds, doing full inhales and full exhales. This next exercise is gonna be a stability ball leg curl. So if you don't know what this is, I'm gonna put my feet up on this ball, I'm gonna bridge my hips up, and then I'm gonna curl my feet towards my hips, right? This is more of the high needs area. I'm working my hamstrings, right? Because I need my hamstrings to be strong to kind of protect my knee. I need my hamstrings, I need my core, right? Things that are further even away from my knee that will help benefit my knee. So if I can get my hamstring strong, that's gonna help protect my knee. My goal is as I curl in, I still want my butt to increase. I don't want my butt to stay low. So I'm gonna do 2 rounds of 10 reps here. So I'm gonna pair the iso bear holds with this exercise. I'm gonna do 2 rounds, 20 seconds on the iso bear holds and 10 reps on the leg curls. So this next exercise is gonna be a goblet loaded split squat with a front knee banded extension. So what this is gonna do, I'm loading a split squat position, but I'm gonna put a band around my front knee so that when I come up on the top of the split squat, it's gonna force me to really contract this VMO, vastus medialis oblique, right? A major muscle that controls your knee, that controls the stability around your knee. It's gonna make me flex that and really push into that. I'm gonna hold this in the goblet position. I'm not starting heavy, neither should you when you first start. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down in this split squat position, tap my knee on the ground, come back up, and really flex this knee back. So once again, this exercise isn't about the weight, it's about doing the movement really well. I'm gonna do 8 reps each leg, going slow and controlled on the way down, coming up pretty normally, 8 reps on each leg. My next exercise, I'm actually just gonna slide this band to the bottom. I'm gonna put the band in my opposite hand, right? The hand farther away from the band. I'm gonna get into like a lateral lunge position. Okay, so my feet are semi-wide. What I'm gonna do, this is more of a posterior hip stretch. All I'm gonna do is, this band is pulling me this way, right? All I wanna do is I wanna lean into this right hip and I wanna stretch the back of my glute. So I'm gonna lean into this hip, my weight's on my heel. I need to get a little bit closer so that the weight is kind of pulling me a little bit closer to my body. I'm gonna lean into this hip and I'm gonna let the band kind of pull me back so that this femur pushes my glute back almost. As it pushes my glute back, I'm kind of gonna stretch that glute med and that glute maximus. So this isn't a strengthening exercise, it's a stretch. So a couple cues here is one, you wanna slightly rotate the torso as you rotate down. So slightly rotate, drive through your heel, and try and get the hips wider than the knee as you go down. So I'm really pushing that hip back into the side. This exercise is about finding it, right? Like once you kind of find how it situates and how it feels, right? Then you get into your glute and you really feel this femur pushing into the back of your glute, you'll really feel that stretch. So try and play around with it, find it, and once you find it, stick to it. So we're gonna do 2 rounds there as well. So 2 rounds of the split squats, 8 reps each leg, 2 rounds on the lateral leans with the band. So this next exercise is Spanish squats. I have a medium thick band, about a 1-inch thick band, wrapped it around a pole, and I have 2 little loops that I stuck my feet through. I put the band right behind my kneecaps, so the band tension is pulling me forward, right? I'm kind of resisting that pull. I'm gonna start with a lighter weight, right? There's no need to break the bank at first, but I'm gonna do what's called a Spanish squat. It's pretty much like a normal goblet squat. I'm gonna hold the weight in front, and I'm gonna perform a squat, but I'm gonna hold it at the bottom for 3-second count. The bottom doesn't even have to be at parallel. Just above parallel, we'll get a little bit more tendon recruitment. I'm just gonna get right above parallel, 1, 2, 3, then I'm gonna come back up, lock my knees out. For that exercise, I'm gonna do 6 reps each leg with a 3-second iso at the bottom. Our next exercise within this pairing is gonna be an isometric split squat, just like it sounds. We're gonna get into a split squat position. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold the bottom position. I'm gonna lift my knee about 1 inch off the ground. I'm gonna keep an upright torso, and I'm gonna hold for 20 seconds. Once again, isometrics are phenomenal for tendon repair and for tendon strength. So I need you to try this program. I need you to do it just like I specified. If you can add a little bit more load to it, add load to it. Do this for 2 to 3 weeks. And if you don't start to feel a little bit better, reach out to me. I'll help you out. Maybe you don't currently struggle with knee pain, and I hope you never do. But if you have shoulder pain, check out this video. So I'm trying to fix your pickleball shoulder pain.